Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Lights Out with Ish and Eve. I'm Ish and this is Eve, and as you can see, we are not in our usual chairs again. But this time it's because we're both overseas. We are both still in Singapore after being here for the race, and it was an absolutely phenomenal weekend.
Yes.
Truly, like, pinch yourself, like seeing
everything in real life.
Yeah.
Like, it's our first time at a Grand Prix, so it was very exciting. Very hot.
It was very hot.
Very
we
sweaty.
sweated a lot, but it was
Worth it.
so worth it. So worth it. There were so many Australians that we ran into
Oh, yeah.
in Singapore. It was almost like being back home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just overall an amazing experience. Amazing for Evie to see, of course, Lando's
Domination.
Yes.
Wasn't even let us win. Just he cooked the whole weekend. So that's another thing. Like, we obviously were at every session together. So we've already discussed obviously a lot of the stuff that's happened. So
normally we make a point of like not speaking to one another over the course of the race weekend.
A little difficult when we're at the race weekend.
Yes. So, but I think we'll still manage to make this chat
I think
good.
so. I think
so yeah, so we want this episode to be a bit more like our usual episodes. We'll do an episode about the race and being there later.
Our Singapore experience.
Yes.
But yeah, like that disclaimer, we obviously were at the race, so it's kind of difficult to get a full handle on everything that's happened because, like, obviously the commentary is different. You're not seeing everything like the same as you would on the broadcast, even though there is a screen, it's like not the same, and that it'll be like driver radio and then a car will go past and you just can't hear it. Even though the commentary like stops to listen to it, it's just like a car will go past and you're like, well, I can't hear
I
anything.
don't know what happened.
So I didn't hear a single radio message. Like, we've done our best to, you know, like watch highlights and assess, but
piece it all together.
If we don't cover in as much depth or detail, or if we miss things, like, that's probably why. But
it's because we were there and just soaking up all the vibes.
Watching the cars go past, like,
yeah, literally. They're so fast, they're so loud, and it was
a good time.
So cool. All right, should we unpack maybe some of the news stories that came out of this weekend before we launch in?
I don't want to do that.
I know, neither do I. I want to live in denial.
Oh, I am in denial. I can't do it, but yeah, we should.
I know.
So obviously what we're talking about is Daniel Ricciardo losing his seat.
Potentially. Unconfirmed as of recording. But
yes, I'm kind of assuming by the time it comes out that we'll know.
It might be announced. Yeah. It's I just don't understand the thinking behind, and like we've obviously talked a lot about this already. We had a few glasses of wine last night and fully unpacked.
And just ranted about how we're losing Daniel Ricciardo. We're like, it's unfair. I can't do it. I can't cope. It's not right. Give that man his seat. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. But I just don't understand changing him this close to the end of the season. Like, and for what? I get that, like, Liam has whatever date in his contract that, you know, he has to know what he's doing with Red Bull or else, like, he can become a free agent. But, like, announce him now for next year. I'm sure he's fine hanging around for another 5-6 races.
Yeah, and then you can give Danny Rick a proper send-off. Like, obviously, the people...
The people spoke.
The people spoke big time with, obviously, the driver of the day vote.
Yeah.
But, like, it was, like, someone like that who's so loved by everybody, and, like, you have to just give them a good champion's send-off. Even though he wasn't world champion, but, like, he's won a lot of races. He's just such a big character in the sport. Everyone in the paddock loves him. All the fans love him. Drive to Survive loves him. He's the reason we have a Vegas race. He's like most of the reason Drive to Survive was so popular.
Yeah. Like a huge part of why the sport is what it is today and why so many people, including the two of us, are into F1 is because of Daniel Ricciardo and like the storyline that he set up in those early episodes of Drive to Survive that got us all hooked and then got us into the sport.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think that like he's going to get the boot midway through, like this close to the end of the season.
And he's not even doing that bad.
I know. Like, yeah, Yuki's got more points, but it's like Yuki's performed insanely better than him when you look at the results. Like, Danny's been screwed over by poor strategy
and
like things that are outside of his control so often.
Yeah.
And it just sucks.
I know. It's just like, just let them finish the season. Give him, if you're going to get rid of him, give him a proper send-off.
Yeah.
And then it's like the whole thing that like at the summer break, they like told him that he was promoted. It's like, how have you gone from such a flip of a switch and it's not that Perez has like done anything?
No.
Yeah, he was good in Baku and then he crashed, but like he's always good in Baku. Baku.
Yeah.
Like he got 1 point in Singapore.
I know. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And like, let Danny race in Austin. Like, and that's Vegas. His track, and let him race in Vegas one more time. Like, come on.
It's like RB's not in any constructor battle. They're not in. I mean, are they? They might be in a constructor battle. I don't know. But like, it's not. I don't think Liam's gonna do
phenomenally better.
No, the car sucks.
Yeah, and I feel
not good.
Totally, and I feel bad for Liam a little bit too, because I'm like,
it's nothing against
yeah, and it's like, it's nothing against you. It's just like the person you're replacing. It's like whoever's gonna replace Daniel Ricciardo is gonna be like, don't don't do that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do feel a little bit bad for him.
Yeah, I know.
But
it's like he deserves the seat, well and truly, Liam, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just really sad. Like, I keep seeing all of like the edits, and I'm like, I could cry.
I know.
I might cry if it gets announced.
Max getting, yeah, for real.
Bro.
Max like thanking him for the fastest lap. I
can't
his
do it.
interview in the pen, and he was like in tears, and he was like sitting in his cockpit for like ages. Like, he didn't get out of the car for ages. Yeah. He was at the track until like nearly 2 a.m. last night.
The last driver to leave.
Oh, I can't do it.
Anyway, let's move on.
Anyway,
I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm just gonna live in denial until it gets announced.
The only thing on TikTok, my TikTok's broken on my phone, so that's fun. But I've like been like a grandma. I've been like scrolling TikTok on my iPad like an absolute boomer. But like, I'm seeing edits. I'm seeing like Daniel hugging everyone in the paddock edits. I'm seeing him and Max edits out my ears. Like, the last thing he did in his career was for him. I'm like, bro. Like, yes, I get it, but like, it's so sad. Like, stop with the edits.
Literally.
Like, you're gonna go far by Noah Khan. Like, come on.
Oh,
come on. But it fits so perfectly.
Totally.
But I'm like, oh, it's too much.
Please.
It's too much. It's that song, or it's Iris by Google Dolls.
Yeah.
Those two songs with Daniel Ricciardo edits. I'm like, stop.
I can't.
Stop.
But anyways, get out of here.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to some maybe just more happier, fun things to talk about.
Yes, please.
While we blissfully ignore everything else. So, FP1.
Yes.
So we kicked things off on Friday. We had some pretty cool seats.
Pit grandstand.
We had pit grandstand seats.
Right opposite the podium. So like kind of a bit far away from where the actual garage is. Like you see Red Bulls?
Yeah, and like a bit of Mercedes, but we were closer towards like the final turn, like turn 18.
Turn 19. Yeah.
19.
Which was like we were right on like the finish line.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. So we got to see everyone like coming around the final corner.
Yeah.
And like setting their lap times, which was cool.
Yeah. So for FP1, I mean, obviously, RB's new livery got unveiled. Sorry to bring it back to RB, but
Denim.
It was actually, when I first saw it on social, I was like, ew. But actually, it looks kind of sick.
It does.
With the zip and like...
When you see the finer details, like the patch
of the logo, it was actually pretty cool.
Just their merch, like the actual driver merch was like the denim.
That was less cute. But
like, why are you wearing like... denim
print
on like a normal like sports material t-shirt. Looks kind of odd.
It was a bit bizarre,
but the car looked cool.
Yes. But in terms of the actual like running of FP1,
I mean, there were some other liveries too. Like Mercedes were green.
Yeah.
And they were like teal.
Yeah, they were like their usual teal color. Yeah.
After like under the lights, I was like, who's who in the zoo?
Yeah.
But maybe that's just in person, but yeah, they kind of like inverted their colours, it seemed like.
Yes.
So instead of being like silver with teal, it was like
teal with silver. Yeah.
Yeah, and then McLaren with their white.
Yes.
Livery, I thought that was quite cool.
Yes.
I mean, it was like nothing crazy, but it was cool.
Yeah.
I think it looked good.
Agree. But
actual race things.
Actual running. I feel like there wasn't too much to say other than like there was a few little sort of like blips and runoffs and things like that. Obviously, Fernando had his moment. It was so funny.
Controller mash.
Yeah.
So did you mean to press the pit button? He was like, I pressed every button.
Yeah. So for people that didn't see, he like kind of narrowly avoided a crash. And then, like, obviously in doing that, basically just hit, like, every button on his, like, steering wheel to, like, I don't know, avoid something or other. Yeah. But basically, yeah, just, like, absolutely control the match. Yeah. I'm like, that's what I do in, like, Smash Bros. I know, just, like, literally. Trying to win. Yeah. Anyways, that's what Fernando did to avoid a crash. And it worked.
Yeah, it did.
So that was funny.
It was very much like Red Bull looked well and truly off the pace.
They did.
But it was kind of unsurprising because it is Singapore and they don't go so well. I'm worried I'm sitting in a different position. But I think it's okay. I'm worried.
You can go suss it if you're
worried. I think it's okay. I think we'll survive. Okay. Red Bull were like off the pace in practice, but kind of to be expected because it is Singapore.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it very much looked like a Ferrari McLaren 1v1.
Yes.
Lando v Charles.
Yeah, literally.
1v1 basically.
Yes.
From early on.
For sure. And like, yeah, Charles topping FP1, I was like, we're on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Ferrari Singapore win once again.
Yes.
However.
Also Ferrari.
I know. So in like going into FP2, like Mercedes were also like for the whole of Friday.
Off the pace.
Just off the pace.
Yeah, struggling.
So that was interesting because obviously come Sunday they pulled it together. But yeah, in FP2 they were also kind of struggling. Obviously something that happened in FP2 was Franco Colapinto going into the wrong box.
The wrong pit box. He drove in. To be fair, like they would have looked so similar, like in the lights in the dark, and like,
he's new.
Never been to Singapore. Like,
yeah, and just went to the Alpine box instead of the Williams box.
Yeah, luckily it was funny. The one before his one.
Yeah,
so he could just like keep driving.
Yeah, the Alpine people were like waving him through, like, nah, keep going, bro.
But then Alpine posted about it on social media and like made some meme about it. It was really funny.
Oh, did they? That's so funny.
It was really funny. I can't remember what exactly it was, but yeah, it was funny. Yeah. That was like okay, bestie. Like a little orkies. Yeah. But like funny.
I was funny. Like, it's like when you like go into a new school and then you like go to the wrong classroom or something.
Oh my god, yeah, and you're like trying to figure out where you are.
Like, where do I go? What do I do?
Literally. And all the people are like, what are you doing?
Literally.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I know.
So funny.
I think another thing that happened in FP2 was, like with Colapinto, was he sort of had like a moment where he was like semi-racing Max.
Oh my god, yeah.
And then like Max kind of like giggled on the TV radio. Yeah. And then Colapinto like saw a social media clip of him giggling and then like commented on it being like, penalty for laughing.
Oh my god, yeah, we should talk about Max's penalty.
We should.
So, for anyone that hasn't seen, Max has been given community service for swearing in a press conference.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely outrageous because people asked his opinion on it.
Yes.
And he was like, I can't remember, he said fuck at some point, but I can't remember what he actually swore in.
Yeah.
But he said
he just was saying like the car was fucked or something like that.
Yeah, I think he said the car was fucked and we need to fix it and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then the person hosting the press conference was like, just watch language, please.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been enough. Like, that's enough. Like, just tell him not, like, you know.
Yeah.
But, like, then Max went on to be like, it's ridiculous that you can't swear. Like, we get called out for swearing, like, all the time, but people in elite sports say the same things as us, but worse. They just don't run around with a microphone attached to them all the time. Yeah. Which is so true. Like, people on football fields and stuff are saying shit like that and worse all the time. Tennis players get fined all the time for their language. Yeah. Like, it's literally like...
It's a part of sport. Like, you're in an emotional state. You've got adrenaline pumping. Like, this is your whole life stakes, when you're when you're a professional athlete. Like, of course, you're gonna emote when you speak about it. Like, and that, but like that includes swearing.
I know, but it's like, I think it was just like the context of him swearing in the press conference. But then there's like, because Checo has been saying the car is fucked. Like, why can Toto Wolff say that? Yeah. And Max Verstappen can't say that his car's fucked.
I know.
He's just confirming what Toto said 2 years ago.
Literally.
But like, it's so ridiculous. And then Max went on to be like, yeah, like, what are we, like 5-6 year olds? Like, grow up, basically.
Yeah.
And then he got given community service. And all the drivers are like, this is outrageous, this is ridiculous. Like,
yeah. So
there's been a few memes about it. Like, they all keep kind of memeing.
Yeah. So the funniest ones I thought were like, I think it was in the post-quali press conference where they obviously asked Lando and Lewis about it. And Lando was like, yeah, no, he deserved it. Obviously jokingly. And then he like went on to be like, no.
He said he deserved it, and then he said...
He was like, it was foul language.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Yeah.
You can't be doing that. And then he was like, no, I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah. And then Lewis was like, I don't think he should do the community service, which is so funny because obviously Max and Lewis, and then Lewis just being like, yeah, no,
he shouldn't do it. Yeah, because like what happens if he just doesn't do it? He gets a fine.
Yeah, and then he'll just pay the fine.
Anyway.
Yeah, like, I would like to see him doing something like just really funny for community service. I don't know what it would be, but just something that's obviously kind of like taking
cleaning
the piss.
up the beach or something. With a bag and some tongs, like clean up Australia Day.
Yeah. But just something, that would be funny. But
anyway, it's been a whole thing. And then Oscar, like, in the cool down room.
Yeah.
Because, like, not to fast forward, but, like, they watched Lando, like, nearly crash in the cool down room. And Max was like, oh my God, like, you should have lifted the brakes, like, a little bit more. Basically telling Lando he should have crashed.
Yeah.
And Lando was like, yeah, I shit myself a little bit.
Yeah.
And Oscar was like, so without swearing, how did you feel?
It's just so funny that they've all banded together to be like,
this is stupid.
Screw you. Yeah.
Love it. Anyway,
so that was the thing.
Back to FP2.
Yes,
George binned it in the last minute.
He did. And we saw his little car hobble back to the pits. Into the pits. Sans front wing.
Yeah, literally.
But that was funny. And then Ferrari were in a 2-3, so I was still feeling good. I was like, yep, Lando's definitely going to be like a competitor for sure. But like, I was like, Ferrari, this could be a very solid weekend here. So I was still feeling good come the end of FP2.
Yeah. FP3.
FP3.
The fucking lizard. This is actually my favourite thing, I think, that happened the whole weekend. It was
so funny. So this is the third year in a row
that there's been like a monitor lizard on the track.
Yeah.
Like this big thing.
And it was so funny because the only two cars out were Astons, and Fernando last year. So the lizard has been nicknamed Godzilla because it's come every single year, and I think Max called it Godzilla one time, and it's just sort of stuck.
Because, the first year he called it Godzilla, and then when it rocked up the next year, he was like, oh, it looks like Godzilla had a kid.
Yeah.
And then this year, it was back.
So
it's not the same one as last year.
No, last year's Godzilla got run over by Fernando.
It was
R.I.P.
not pretty. It was not just run over, it was destroyed.
Yeah. So it was
Godzilla.
Yeah, so it was so funny that the lizard came out and Fernando was running and I was like, oh my God, the lizard's back for revenge. Yeah.
Oh,
like, God. He's coming for you, Fernando.
I know it was you.
Literally. So that was hilarious. And just all the videos
funny.
Of like the lizard running, its little legs just like flailing. And then the marshal like sprinting after it, trying to catch it.
Anyway.
It was so funny.
We had a red flag for a lizard.
Yeah, it was
very
great.
Funny. Very funny.
Yeah. So good.
It's
Anyway.
like the only thing that happened at FP3.
Yeah, literally. We were around like turn 7 and 8, so we got to see Max's like little slip slide, which was a bit cool, yeah. Alex Albon got a puncture and then proceeded to just, his weekend really went downhill from there.
I didn't even know he got a puncture. We got to highlights. I was like, oh.
Yeah, so that was FP3. Mm-hmm. And then we got into quali.
Yeah, quali was crazy.
So obviously, given all the news, it was a little bit traumatizing to see Daniel Ricciardo get knocked out in Q1.
Yeah, especially because RB had been doing well through practice. So yeah, to see him get knocked out in Q1 was like really quite upsetting.
Yes.
But the other people who got out were the kind of
usual crew. Yeah. So not much else to say about Q1. Q2, Max and Lando were kind of slip sliding around a little bit.
Yes. So there was quite a few close calls with the walls for like a lot of people, I think. But yeah, notably Max and Lando.
Yes. But
Perez was struggling in Q2, but
Yep.
I don't think that's that surprising.
No, that's kind of like...
I don't think him qualifying P13 like in Singapore is necessarily too bad.
No.
Like, given the car in Singapore and the car this year and how he's been going, like, I don't think that's actually too bad.
Yeah.
But Max just absolutely outdrove that car.
Yeah, Max was phenomenal.
He had his first lap time deleted in Q2. He had his lap time deleted, so it was like a 1, and he pulled that out of the bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I was not expecting you to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah,
Now
like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was insane.
But yeah, Ferrari were kind of struggling.
Yes.
In quali.
They were struggling for grip a lot.
Yeah. Like, it just went, like, what?
Yeah. Which we saw the struggle for grip in Q3, and we'll get there.
Yes.
But solid effort by Williams. P11 and P12.
Yeah. I mean,
Decent
they were
effort.
like, meow, but like, Colapinto was like, I'm sorry. And they were like,
huh? Yeah.
It's like, because what, you got through to Q3 once, like, welcome to Formula 1, ST. Like, it's
Literally.
not always that good. But
Yeah.
I think for them, like, that's a really good, and yeah, Colapinto was like 7,000th off Albon.
Yeah.
Like,
he's right up there.
he's absolutely,
So he's
good.
cooking for that second
Sauber
Sauber seat.
Literally.
Anyway, so yeah, so I feel like that was Q2. And then Q3. The that went through the crowd when Carlos put it in the wall was like a little bit
we
soul
were over
destroying.
like the other side of the track.
Yeah, so we're just watching it on a screen.
Yeah, and just like it just cut to it like a Ferrari in the wall, and I was like, but he crashed like right where we were sat the first day. I was like, come on, what's happening?
So that was obviously very disappointing.
Yeah, brought out the red flag.
Yeah, got a €25,000 fine for walking across the track.
But the pit lane was right there.
Yeah, bro was just like, I'm not walking all the way around.
Walking all the way around. Exactly. I'm not waiting for this scooter
Yeah.
to come get me. Like, I've seen all the cars go in, like, we're red flagged.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
All good.
Yeah. So that was very unfortunate.
Yes.
And
it became then, one lap shootout for pole.
Which was cool.
Horrifying.
Yeah, it was stressful, but super cool.
Super cool. Yeah, because the only people that had put a time on the board were Oscar and Nico.
Yeah, because Max got like screwed by this red flag.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was like half a second maybe off finishing his lap. And then the red flag got flown, and
yeah, he was being investigated to see if he like didn't lift out of red flag conditions.
Yeah.
But he did.
He did.
And it turns out that his time, like even after he lifted, like would have put him on provisional pole.
Yeah.
Like, horrifying.
He was absolutely cooking on that lap, and then it got wiped because he was like moments.
He finished after the red flag.
After the red flag, yeah, which sucks for him. But it was an absolutely incredible lap.
Almost everyone was on a lap. Like Lando, everyone was on a fast lap. Like at that point in time.
Yeah.
Because Carlos crashed on his out lap.
Yeah.
Like he was about to start his lap, so a bunch of people were already on their laps.
Yeah.
And he,
Yep. So that was. Yeah, made for a cool one-lap shootout.
Terrifying.
In which Lando put in an insane lap.
Ridiculous lap.
So fast.
I was a little bit nervous because he was one of the first to set his lap.
Yeah.
And like with the track development, I was like, fuck, like.
Yeah.
And I knew obviously like Max, Lewis, Charles were all like still coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, because Charles was right at the back too. He was like one of the last across the line. And I was like, oh no, like Lando being the first one to go out and set his time, I was a little nervy. But
I don't think track development ended up counting for much.
No,
because it's just so hot.
About it.
Yeah. But so that was Lando. Obviously Max put in an absolute banger.
Yeah,
to chuck it on the front row.
He really, really like pulled quality out of the bag.
Yeah.
But like, good for him.
Yeah.
Not good for the championship. I was not expecting that, especially after him in Singapore last year.
Yeah. And then amazing work from Nico.
Yeah.
Charles couldn't, even though his lap time got deleted for track limits, which was also like another knife in the heart after Carlos. Charles' lap still wasn't faster than Nico.
No.
Nico was the fastest Ferrari engine.
Yeah, literally. So Ferrari lined up 9th and 10th on the grid.
Yep.
Not super cute for them. Lewis put in a banger lap.
Yeah, Mercedes came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In quali.
Like 3rd and 4th.
Like, what do you mean?
Where especially like Lewis on like talking after practice, one of the practice sessions, he was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it to Q3.
Yeah.
Babe, P3.
P3. And there were so many Lewis fans in Singapore. Oh my God.
I just think there's so many Lewis fans everywhere.
Totally. But I'm like, damn. Like, because you don't really, I think like, I'm so used to seeing like heaps of like McLaren hats and Ferrari like red, like in and amongst the crowd shots. It does. But then you go to an event and it's like, damn. Like,
I think it would be the same everywhere. I think there's lots of Lewis fans in Singapore, but it's our first Grand Prix. I genuinely think it's like that everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not in like Monza and Austria and those kinds of places, but
but like just a Grand Prix that's not like a home of anyone. I think it'll be
definitely. Same. But anyway, so
he's late.
I feel like that was quali, unless you have
that was
any
about
other things to yap about.
Not really.
So
the race. Lando kept his place off the start.
Yeah.
Look what can happen when you don't bottle the start. Look what happens.
So good.
And like, it was just so nice because obviously he didn't bottle the start last week, but he started P15.
Yeah.
So like there was less pressure.
Yes.
So, but I was like, okay, he had a good start, but is it the pressure of being on pole that like, makes him, whatever. But he had a great launch.
Yes.
Phenomenal launch. And it helped that Max didn't so much, but Max normally always does.
Yeah.
But I still think he would have kept it. Like he had such a good start.
Had a really good start.
And he kept the lead. As soon as he got the start, I was like, I'm fairly confident he will lead the whole
race,
or the whole lap.
Oh, I was like, he's gone.
Oh no, me too.
Like after like lap 1, I was like, damn.
Yeah, but like because he hasn't led a first lap after starting on pole. I was like, that was my first like checkpoint.
Yeah. Get through that. Yeah.
But and then he basically pissed off into the distance from there, and it was like, you need a 5-second gap to Max to stop the undercut. It's like,
all right,
let's me get 20.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Literally. But it was a clean start and just like an overall clean race. There was the first time no safety car.
In Singapore, which I felt so bad for all the drivers because they already say it's the most demanding, exhausting, physically draining race of the year because of how hot it is and humid. And every single year there's been a safety car. So they get that little bit of reprieve.
Yeah, but they don't have to be like...
So I'm like, damn, like that actually could have been like one of the most intense physically races they've done.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Yeah.
In all of their careers.
So that
big
was
shout out to everyone for surviving the race.
Good effort.
I did hear apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, I only saw one thing about it. Apparently George and Lewis were excused from media because they were like borderline having heat stroke.
Yeah.
And like the Mercedes has been running hot like the last few weeks. So they were probably like cooked. And you do see George like getting out of the car and like leaning on it, and even like Franco was like after I was like,
so that happened in Qatar last year as well, where like Lance Stroll like vomited in his helmet. Like half the drivers had to get taken to see like doctors and stuff after the race because of the heat. So I'm not shocked by that. I mean, Alex Albon's car retired due to overheating.
Lap 15.
Yeah. Alex was like, nah, this is too hot. I'm getting out. I've had enough.
I know.
But that was, it would have been tough.
Yeah, I was like, I feel for these hoes.
Time. But like we were sweating on the sidelines.
Yeah, so I can't imagine how hot it would have been in there. But it was overall, it wasn't the most exciting race.
No.
At all. But I was just happy Lando won, and I think like it made it just so much more exciting because we were there.
Totally.
Like it's the sort of race that if we watched it on TV, we would probably like a bit of a boring race.
Yeah.
Because we were there like every time they would come past, and for the race we were sat like in between turn 18 and 19, so right at like pit entry.
Yes.
So that was quite cool. Be like, oh, he's coming in.
Yeah.
But it was like the most thing that like was like, well, for me was like Lando bumping into the walls.
Yeah.
Getting away.
Came so close to that race not going his way because he came so close to hitting the wall.
He hit the wall twice.
Yeah.
He literally had a fat lock up and hit his front wing.
Yeah.
And was like, I think I have front wing damage. But then I was like, okay. Because then when he did pit, he pitted from the lead and still came out ahead. And it was so good because like the McLaren really played their strategy really well because they like got Oscar, like they waited until the cars in between Lando and Oscar had pitted.
Yeah.
So they knew that they could pit Lando for the lead.
Yeah.
And come out still in front of Oscar, but even if it like something bad happened in the pit stop and they came up behind Oscar, like they could just swap it back. Like
yes.
They kind of slayed.
Yes.
And then like after that they pit Oscar.
Yeah.
But when they like he came in and like didn't change his front wing, I was like, it must be fine.
Totally.
Like you've got the pace and the time.
Yeah.
That like
if you needed to, you would.
You could have, change your front wing. So that was clearly fine. And then he whacked the back of the corner of his car as well. Like
a few of them did that. Like their rear wheel just like.
I know, but it looked like he hit the wall harder than K-Mag did, and K-Mag got a puncture.
Yeah.
So it was nerve-wracking for
Yeah.
sure.
No,
but
definitely. He did. Oscar kind of couldn't make the undercut work with like getting past the Mercedes that way, but then like just had the pace to overtake them anyways to get into P3. There were some good overtakes actually, and like obviously from both the Ferraris having to work their way back through the field, and like Carlos definitely got stuck behind Fernando a couple times, and like he was getting a bit frustrated, obviously.
Charles was getting so pissed.
Yeah.
Because he was stuck behind Nico for
ages.
And then he got stuck behind
Fernando. Yeah.
And then he got back stuck behind
Fernando again, yeah.
And then like couldn't get past Lewis, and then was being held off by George.
Yeah.
Like George did so well to hold off Charles at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
like
like
a bit of encouragement, mate.
I know.
Oh, George.
That was so funny. But like,
just a fragile little soul.
I know. He's like, guys, I can't do this. Fair, honestly. Like in that heat, like I totally understand Charles getting frustrated because you're just so hot and like sick of it.
I'm so shocked that someone didn't crash like in the last 10 laps or so.
Yeah.
Because just concentration.
Totally.
And
under those
you
conditions.
Haven't had a safety car.
Yeah.
One, people crash all the time in Singapore anyway.
Totally.
And having no safety car, the concentration, everything, I was very impressed.
I know.
No one put it in the wall like in the last few laps.
I know. It was phenomenal. Obviously, like a great comeback drive from the Ferraris, but like Lando just kind of...
Lando would have won by, I genuinely think, 35, 40 seconds if he hadn't
backed off
because then Will was like, chill out, like just bring it home. With like 10 laps to go and the gap to Max was about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he just like and he had the fastest lap. It was like a new race lap record.
Yeah.
And they were like fairly certain that he was going to keep the fastest lap, but he did not. But they told him to slow down. He lost 10 seconds to Max in like the last 10 laps.
Yeah, which was fine because it was still like 20 seconds there. Yeah.
Like, it did make me a bit nervous like watching it go down, like because it went down so quickly. But I was like, oh, it does not matter. He can always go faster. Like,
exactly.
If he needs to, it's not like he's pushing at all.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of just cruising around. And he lapped
like half the field.
More than half the field. He lapped up to like 7th or something.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think he lapped like.
Because he lapped
Pinto, Perez and Nico.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think he lapped Fernando.
Yeah,
but he literally lapped like 3 point scoring cars.
Yeah, wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
So just obviously an amazing drive from him.
Yeah.
And then speaking of obviously the fastest lap, which Danny Rick stole right at the end, which was such like a...
Poetic.
Yeah, middle finger to RB. But so he obviously boxed for sauce and then set the fastest lap, which was just like, as you said, poetic because he was like, I still got this, I'm still good, and it's just that this car sucks.
It's bad strategy week in, week out.
Yeah.
The car's bad, everyone's calling for his head.
Yeah.
It's like...
And then it was such like a... And then also because that point from fastest lap being taken away from Lando now means that if Lando wins everything, as long as Max comes second in everything, like, doesn't matter sprints, doesn't matter fastest point.
No, in sprints as well.
No, sorry, like in sprints, but it doesn't matter like fastest laps and all that sort of stuff. Like,
he won't
Max will still win the world championship because of that 1 point.
Yeah, but I just don't think that's not realistic anyway.
It's not realistic.
I'm kind of like,
no, but it is just very like, with Danny Rick starting at Red Bull and him and Max being like so close now and all that sort of stuff, like it is just so like, oh.
It is, I know. And just the people voting him driver of the day.
I know.
Was like,
the people really spoke. Social media cooked on that one.
I know. Everyone just like decided they were going to vote Danny Rick driver of the day.
Yeah.
And like, they did.
Yeah.
And he did not have a good race, but
yeah.
I was expecting Oscar to close down Max a little bit more.
Yeah.
Max cooked.
He really cooked. Max had a phenomenal race.
I was so because even when he qualified so well, I was like, yeah, but the Red Bull around here, like his race pace isn't going to hold up.
Yeah. I was even like, even if he gets Lando at the start, Lando will get him back pretty quickly.
So like now I'm like, after seeing that, I'm like, well, like he kind of really, really, really did that. Like the fact that Oscar couldn't even break down the gap like at the end.
Totally.
I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Max is really kind of doing that. And like, I wasn't expecting Max to be anywhere near that this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
makes me a little bit scared for
the rest of the year.
Yeah, the races that like, it's not like, oh yeah, Red Bull sucks at this track.
And especially like with the World Championship, I'm like, no, I was like, why has Max entered the chat again?
I know.
Go away. Go away.
But yeah, so that was funny. But I think that was kind of it for the race. It was just so cool to see live.
I know. Oh my god.
Phenomenal.
Talk about, the podium.
Oh my god, we had a bad experience with the podium, but we will unpack that in our what it was like to attend the Singapore Grand Prix. But basically,
we missed it.
Long story short, we missed the podium, which we were so gutted about.
Like double McLaren podium, Lando win. I was there and I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was not the vibe.
Oh, I could scrap. I could fucking scrap.
Yeah.
Pissed.
Yeah,
it
was not it.
Anyway, we'll unpack that when we talk about our Singapore experience.
We will.
Let's get into our awards, shall
we? Who was your biggest winner?
Lando.
Yes.
I feel like that's just, he slayed.
Totally.
McLaren slayed their strategy.
Yeah.
I also had Max.
Me too. Mine were Lando, McLaren and Max.
Yep. Pretty straightforward.
We love it.
That's a straightforward race. It's like not that much like crazy.
No, exactly. Who are your biggest losers?
Danny Rick.
Yeah.
That's literally what I wrote down.
I know. I had Danny Rick also. And also Alex Albon.
Yeah.
Just because like the Williams was doing quite well and he could have potentially been on for some points.
Yeah.
But he retired.
Oh my god, we have to talk about Perez being like, damn, Colapinto's good.
Yeah.
Like when he couldn't get past him for ages. He was like holding off Perez for so long. And then he was like, this kid's good on the radio. It's like, okay, game recognized game. Okay.
That was funny. But yeah, no, those were my losers.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
There were a number of like biggest memes for me.
God. Yeah.
Obviously, we've kind of spoken about the cool down room.
Yes.
And like Max telling Lando he should have put it in the wall. Oscar like telling them not to swear when asking them a question. Like that was so funny.
Yeah.
The one that I had was Max just throwing his own press conference
after
the FIA one.
Yeah.
So basically, like after the post-quali, like FIA press conference, he just did not. He barely answered. He was like giving 1 or 2 word answers to everything.
No comment.
Yeah. And he got asked, like, are you going to answer the questions? Like, and he was like, oh, I am. Like, I'm just not saying much. He was like, my throat hurt or like my voice is gone or whatever. Like, just so petty. And then, he was like, come find me outside. And then the swarm of reporters that came was just so funny.
To answer outside so he can say whatever he wants because he's not in the FIA press conference. So he's not going to get more community service.
Which I also think is like good from Max. In the sense of like, he's like, I'm not just gonna like not answer your questions. Like, I recognize that you're all journalists and you all have jobs to do, but I'm trying to make a statement about this situation. So let me still help you do your job by answering your questions and doing all of that, but I'm gonna do it my way. Which I'm like, I just love that. Get it.
Also, my other biggest meme is the lizard, which we've spoken about. The lizard, my favourite fucking thing.
I know, the F1 like Instagram page.
And the lizard goes purple.
Posting like purple sectors.
Why does the lizard drive for Williams?
I know. It had like a little like graphic on it and then there was a little Williams logo. Like, why does the lizard drive for Williams?
They should have put it as Aston.
Yes, that would have been so funny. But yeah, those were my biggest memes.
Yes.
Did you have a silly surprise?
Well, it was a silly surprise that Daniel Ricciardo got driver of the day, but like,
Yeah.
it's not so silly goofy because it's very serious.
It's so serious. That was a serious surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it was a silly surprise that like the people cooked in that way, but
Yeah.
the situation is so serious that I can't be like, oh, silly surprise.
Yeah.
But like I wrote Danny Rick driver of the day, sad face.
Yes, valid. I had just Mercedes being good out of nowhere come quali and like, yeah. And the race, and then just the Alpine pit crew getting surprised by Colapinto.
Oh, yeah. They had a silly surprise. I'm sure I know that.
Yeah.
On the podcast.
I honestly didn't have a useless stat because we've been here.
Yeah.
Do you have a useless stat?
No, I don't. I just wrote down that it's the only Singapore Grand Prix ever without a safety car.
Yeah,
so
nice.
having, like, with that being it, it's also the fastest time that the Singapore Grand Prix.
True. We now have a new race record.
Yes, for Daniel Ricciardo. So Daniel Ricciardo now holds the
lap
race record.
Yeah, but there's also a new race record, like the quickest completion of the Singapore Grand Prix.
Obviously, Lando. But the whole thing being completed because there was no safety car and there's an extra DRS zone.
Yes.
So it's not shocking that that's happened, but for it to finish so quickly, like, is because there's no safety car, which is kind of surprising. Yeah. So I don't really have a fact, it's literally just that.
Yeah, same.
And obviously everyone knows it's the only Grand Prix that Red Bull didn't win last year. I didn't write that down. I was like, that's just another
it's just
Singapore
another thing. Yeah, valid. What was your favourite moment?
Lando winning.
Yes. I just had like just being there. Like the fireworks at the end was just like such like the moment.
Oh my god. Like a few years ago when Lando finished P4 and he was like, are the fireworks for me?
Yeah.
And they can be. They can be. And this time they were.
I know.
I loved that.
It was just like that moment of just like, we just
watch this Grand Prix.
And
we were like booking it to try and make it to the podium. We were like running by like the river. Yeah. And I was like looking up and I was like, oh, that's kind of pretty. Anyway, it was like over Marina Bay Sands, like heaps of fireworks. Yeah,
it was like so much fireworks on our right. Yeah, you could see like Marina Bay Sands and like and then on our left was the track and just it was just a whole moment.
And I was like, that's cool. Anyway. But yeah.
It was so cool. Who was your driver of the day?
Well, I don't agree with the people. I don't think Daniel Ricciardo was driver of the day.
No, like in the normal sense of what driver of the day is, no.
I agree with him being voted it.
Yes.
For all of everything that stands for.
Yes.
But I would, like, obviously Lando slayed, but I'd probably have to give it to, like, Max or Oscar.
Yeah.
Because, like, Max, like, keeping his Red Bull in P2 is impressive.
Yeah.
And, like, Oscar had some really good overtakes on those Mercedes. And that battle with George was really good. There was actually a lot of people that could have been driver of the day. Everyone drove really well, like, in those top few. Because then, like, the Ferraris and, like, even George, like, cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of just really good driving from particularly the top drivers. Yeah. Like, I had Max just because what's your car doing there in Singapore and like holding that and like that was as good as it was going to get for him and like quali just absolutely outdriving that car, so solid. I think that's kind of it for Singapore, so we've obviously got a big gap now. We've got a 3-week gap. We've basically got another summer break,
but we've got content, so it's fine.
We do.
You can keep your eye out. If you haven't seen any of our content, we posted some fun content from like public interviews in Singapore. Yeah. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out on YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Instagram. Yes. But that was really fun. So we've got a bunch more content from that, like those interviews that we're going to be posting. We've got a vlog, which is in progress of our whole week
experience
in Singapore.
Yeah.
Everything we got up to and, you know, being at the Grand Prix and everything. And then we're going to do an episode as well.
On just what it was like being here.
Yeah. And our experience. So obviously, like the vlog, you'll see it, but then we can discuss and unpack.
Yeah.
Further in another episode. And then it will be in Austin.
So obviously,
please
let Daniel Ricciardo, please let him drive in Austin. But I think it'll be a great race. Last year, Charles and Lewis got disqualified, so I really hope that doesn't happen again.
There's a sprint.
There is a sprint, true, so we'll have extra bonus content for that. But
I'm excited.
I feel like Austin will be a fun time. So I'm very excited.
Austin. I was just there. I actually had a great time in Austin. I
Yeah.
really liked it. So it's kind of fun, like, having been to the place. I see you.
Yes.
I see you.
Anyways, I think that's it. Do you want to do a little wrap?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I feel like this was kind of quicker.
Yeah.
Probably because
we just didn't really know what was going on, and we've unpacked it together already.
Thanks for listening. If you're on Spotify or a audio listen, please give us a review because we love you. So thanks. And this is terrible.
We've had a big week.
You cut this out.
Yeah.
You're not going to.
I might. We'll see.
If you're listening on an audio version, please do give us a review because it really helps us out and we appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe and leave a comment. Tell us your thoughts. Let us know what you're getting up to in the little break. What do you think about Daniel Ricciardo? Because all I've heard is people saying that they don't want him to leave. So let us know your thoughts. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.